Gather round, dear listeners, and let me share with you a tale of regret and redemption, of secrets hidden deep within the corridors of the past, and of the twists of fate that can change a life in an instant. It is a story that begins in a time long past, when a man named Marcus lived his life with a restless heart and a penchant for mistakes that would echo through the years. In those early days, Marcus was known for his charm and his insatiable desire for new experiences. Yet behind that dazzling smile lay a man prone to missteps, a man whose actions would come back to haunt him in ways he could never have foreseen. Marcus had once been in love with a gentle, kind soul named Anna, a woman whose eyes sparkled with unspoken dreams and whose laughter could fill even the darkest of rooms with light. Their love, as it seemed, was destined to be the kind that poets write about and musicians immortalize in ballads. Yet, as is often the case with the affairs of the heart, fate intervened in cruel and unexpected ways. Marcus, seduced by the thrill of novelty and the intoxicating allure of forbidden pleasures, betrayed Anna's trust in a moment of weakness. In the haze of a reckless night, he cheated on the one person who had once made his heart beat true, leaving a wound so deep that the scars would remain hidden for years to come. For a long while, Marcus lived in a world of denial and distraction, burying his guilt beneath layers of ambition and the clamor of a fast-paced life. He soared professionally, becoming a man of means and success, yet always with a lingering emptiness that he could neither explain nor escape. Meanwhile, Anna, the woman whose heart had been shattered, carried a secret that time had carefully concealed beneath the surface of her quiet existence. Unknown to Marcus, Anna had borne a child during the tumultuous aftermath of his betrayal, a little girl whose very existence was a testament to the love they once shared, albeit marred by betrayal and heartbreak. As years passed, and the wounds of the past began to fade into the background of busy lives and forgotten promises, Marcus continued on his path, oblivious to the quiet mystery that swirled around his former lover. He was content, or so he thought, in his world of professional triumphs and social conquests. Yet life, in its infinite wisdom and capriciousness, had a way of unearthing truths that one could never escape. For deep within the recesses of his past lay a secret that would shatter the carefully constructed illusion of his existence. A secret that would force him to confront the consequences of his actions and the person he had once been. One chilly autumn evening, as the city streets shimmered with the reflection of neon lights and a brisk wind carried the promise of change, Marcus found himself wandering through a quiet park after a long day at work. The park, with its ancient oaks and winding paths, had always been a sanctuary for him, a place where he could escape the relentless pace of urban life and lose himself in thought. On that particular night, however, the park seemed to hum with an unusual energy, as if it too sensed the arrival of a long-dormant secret. The air was thick with the scent of damp leaves and the distant murmur of a hidden stream, and Marcus felt an inexplicable pull, a tug at the very core of his soul that he could not ignore. Seated on a weathered bench beneath an old elm tree was an elderly man, his eyes alight with the kind of wisdom that only comes from a lifetime of bearing witness to the world's myriad sorrows and joys. As Marcus approached, the old man offered him a knowing smile, a smile that carried with it the weight of many unspoken stories. Even the darkest secrets have a way of revealing themselves, the man said in a low, gravelly voice, his words resonating with an eerie familiarity. Sometimes, the truth is not buried at all. It is waiting patiently for you to notice the signs. Marcus was taken aback by the man's words. Had he truly been so careless as to ignore the whispers of fate? The old man continued, "There are moments in life when the past comes knocking, not to torment you, but to remind you of the choices you once made. And sometimes, those choices carry a price far greater than you ever imagined." With those enigmatic words hanging in the air, the old man slowly rose, tipped his battered hat, and ambled away into the shadows of the night, leaving Marcus with a sense of foreboding and an unshakable feeling that his life was on the brink of transformation. In the days that followed, Marcus found himself plagued by an unrelenting curiosity. What did the old man meant by his cryptic words? Why did his heart race with a mixture of dread and anticipation whenever he thought of Anna? Unable to shake the feeling that something crucial was hidden behind the veil of his memories, Marcus began to revisit the fragments of his past. Old letters, photographs, and mementos that he had long since tucked away in dusty boxes. As he sifted through these relics of a bygone era, he came across a faded photograph of Anna, her eyes filled with a mixture of sorrow and hope. Tucked behind the photograph was a letter, its ink faded and its words barely legible. In it, Anna wrote of love and loss, of the bittersweet taste of regret, and of a promise she had made to herself to keep a secret safe until the right time arrived. The words stirred something deep within Marcus. What secret could Anna have possibly harbored that was so carefully concealed for all these years? The letter hinted at something that had changed her life irrevocably, something that she had hidden away like a fragile treasure, too painful to reveal. Determined to uncover the truth, Marcus set out on a quest to piece together the puzzle of his past, unaware that with each step he took, he was drawing closer to a revelation that would upend everything he thought he knew about himself and the woman he once loved. Days turned into weeks as Marcus scoured the city for clues. He visited the old neighborhood where he and Anna had once dreamed of a future together, a neighborhood that now seemed haunted by echoes of laughter and unspoken goodbyes. In the narrow alleys and quiet corners of that place, he encountered whispers of a mysterious figure, a little girl, rarely seen but often spoken of with a mixture of admiration and pity. Neighbors recalled glimpses of a child with eyes as deep and sorrowful as a forgotten lullaby, a child who had carried herself with a dignity that belied her tender years. It was as if the little girl was a living reminder of a past too painful to confront. Haunted by these fragments of memory, Marcus began to piece together the puzzle. Late one evening, in a cramped attic filled with relics of the past, he discovered an old journal, a journal that had once belonged to Anna. The pages, yellowed with time, were filled with entries that spoke of love and betrayal, of joy and heartache. As Marcus read on, a chilling realization dawned upon him. In one of the entries, written in a trembling hand, Anna recounted the secret that had defined the course of her life after their parting. She wrote of a night filled with tears and whispered promises, a night when she had discovered she was carrying a child conceived in the aftermath of betrayal and nurtured in the silent depths of her sorrow. Marcus's heart pounded as the truth unfurled before him like a dark and twisted tapestry. The secret he had long buried, the secret he had never allowed himself to confront, was now laid bare. The little girl, the mysterious figure spoken of by the neighbors, was none other than his own flesh and blood, a daughter born from the union of love and betrayal, a daughter he had never known existed. Shock and disbelief warred within him. How could he have been so blind? The guilt, which had long been dormant beneath the surface of his carefully constructed world, surged forth like a tidal wave, threatening to engulf him in a storm of remorse. For days, Marcus was consumed by a profound sense of isolation and self-recrimination. The revelation was as devastating as it was unexpected. Each memory of Anna, each fragment of the past, now carried the bitter tang of regret. He recalled the moments when he had chosen selfish desires over the warmth of true love, when he had taken for granted the beauty of a life that was slowly slipping away. The realization that his actions had left an indelible mark on the life of an innocent child gnawed at him, each thought a dagger that pierced the remnants of his pride. But fate, it seemed, was not yet finished with its cruel lessons. The more Marcus dwelled on the revelation, the more he became aware of the enigma that surrounded his daughter's existence. There were hints that Anna had taken extraordinary measures to shield her daughter from the pain of the truth, to protect her fragile spirit from the consequences of a past marred by betrayal. The journal hinted at clandestine meetings, secret phone calls, and coded messages exchanged between Anna and someone whose identity remained shrouded in mystery. Who was this enigmatic figure, and what role had they played in safeguarding the secret that now threatened to unravel the very fabric of Marcus's life? Determined to seek redemption and to atone for the sins of his past, Marcus resolved to find the daughter he had unwittingly forsaken. His quest, however, was fraught with peril and uncertainty. Every lead he followed seemed to lead him deeper into a labyrinth of secrets, a maze where each turn revealed yet another layer of mystery. The city, with its sprawling streets and hidden corners, became a stage upon which the drama of his past and present unfolded in vivid, unrelenting detail. One rainy night, as the city lights blurred into streaks of color on wet pavement, Marcus found himself in a dimly lit cafe tucked away in a forgotten part of town. The cafe, with its scent of roasted coffee and old wood, exuded an air of melancholy and nostalgia. It was here, in the quiet murmur of whispered conversations and the soft clink of porcelain cups, that Marcus encountered a woman whose presence stirred echoes of the past. Her eyes, a striking shade of emerald, held a mix of sadness and defiance, and as she regarded him, it was as if she could see the turmoil raging behind his carefully constructed facade. They exchanged cautious greetings, and over the course of the evening, the conversation meandered from trivial pleasantries to the deeper currents of regret and longing. The woman introduced herself as Lila, a name that, to Marcus's astonishment, resonated with a familiarity he could not quite place. In her measured, thoughtful voice, Lila spoke of her own journey, a journey marked by loss and the relentless search for truth. As the night wore on and the rain pounded against the cafe windows, a subtle yet undeniable connection began to blossom between them, a connection that transcended the boundaries of mere chance encounter. Yet, behind Lila's warm smile and gentle demeanor lay secrets of her own, secrets that hinted at a past intertwined with the mystery Marcus was desperate to unravel. As days turned into weeks, Marcus found himself drawn to Lila's enigmatic aura. In the quiet moments of their burgeoning friendship, he sensed that she held keys to the very mystery that now consumed him. There were times when, in the dim glow of twilight, Lila would speak in hushed tones about a daughter she once knew, a daughter whose eyes held the same sorrowful depth as the ones Marcus had seen in that faded photograph of Anna. The pieces of the puzzle began to fall into place, each fragment of memory and whispered confession adding to the intricate mosaic of truth. One fateful afternoon, as the city awoke to the soft caress of spring sunlight, Marcus received an anonymous letter. The envelope was plain, unadorned, yet the weight of its contents was palpable. With trembling hands, he unfolded the letter to reveal a message written in an elegant script, one that spoke of redemption, responsibility, and the inescapable ties of blood and fate. The letter urged him to seek out a place, a small, secluded house on the outskirts of the city, where answers to the mysteries of his past awaited. The note was unsigned, its words carefully chosen to inspire both hope and trepidation. Haunted by the possibility that this was the breakthrough he had been searching for, Marcus embarked on a journey that led him far from the familiar streets of his everyday life. The drive was long and winding, the road bordered by dense groves of trees whose leaves whispered secrets in the cool breeze. As dusk gave way to the inky darkness of night, the silhouette of the house emerged from the shadows, a modest dwelling, seemingly abandoned, yet imbued with an aura of quiet dignity and hidden memories. Every step Marcus took toward the house felt laden with destiny, as if the very ground beneath him pulsed with the echoes of lives once lived. Inside the house, every room was a time capsule, preserved in a state of suspended animation. Faded photographs lined the mantelpiece, each one capturing moments of joy and sorrow, laughter and tears. In one corner, a delicate crib stood as a silent testament to a life begun and interrupted, a life that Marcus now knew was inexplicably connected to his own. As he wandered through the dusty halls, his eyes fell upon a small, worn diary tucked away in a forgotten drawer. The diary, bound in soft leather and etched with delicate patterns, belonged to Anna. With each careful turn of the page, Marcus was transported back to a time of youthful hope and devastating betrayal. The entries recounted the pain of separation, the quiet acceptance of a harsh reality, and, most haunting of all, the story of her daughter, a daughter she had vowed to protect at all costs. Marcus's heart ached with a potent mix of remorse and longing as he read the final entry, penned in a hand that trembled with emotion. In it, Anna wrote of a promise made long ago, a promise that her daughter would one day know the truth, that she would be reunited with the man who had once been her father, despite the mistakes of the past. The weight of those words was almost unbearable, a revelation that transformed Marcus's understanding of his own life. Here, in the quiet solitude of that forgotten house, the full measure of his betrayal and its consequences came crashing down upon him. The daughter, a living embodiment of love lost and chances wasted, was out there somewhere, waiting for him to claim the responsibility that fate had thrust upon his shoulders. With the diary clutched tightly in his hands, Marcus vowed that he would find her. His journey of redemption, of seeking forgiveness from the ghost of his past, had only just begun. Yet the path ahead was fraught with uncertainty and peril. The more he sought answers, the more he encountered obstacles, guardians of secrets determined to keep the truth hidden at all costs. Anonymous phone calls, shadowy figures trailing him through the night, and inexplicable warnings became constant companions on his quest. Each clue he uncovered only deepened the mystery, revealing layers of deceit and sorrow that stretched back decades. In the midst of his internal turmoil, Marcus began to wonder if fate was testing him, if the very forces of destiny were conspiring to force him to confront the consequences of his actions. He recalled the old man's words in the park, words that now rang truer than ever, that the past always has a way of catching up with us, and that even the darkest secrets eventually rise to the surface. The realization that his daughter was not just a shadowy figure in a half-forgotten memory, but a real, breathing child with hopes, dreams, and her own share of pain, filled him with both dread and an overwhelming desire to make amends. Days bled into nights as Marcus meticulously retraced Anna's steps, delving into archives, speaking with old acquaintances, and following tenuous leads that seemed to flicker like candlelight in a darkened room. Each conversation, each snippet of overheard dialogue in a bustling market or a quiet cafe, added another layer to the enigma. There were murmurs of a woman who had raised her daughter in secret, away from the prying eyes of a society quick to judge. There were whispers of a protective relative, a guardian who had shielded the child from the harsh realities of a world unkind to those born of scandal. The trail led him to a quaint, time-worn neighborhood on the edge of the city, a place where the architecture whispered of bygone eras and every street corner held a memory. Here, in a modest townhouse with ivy creeping along its walls, Marcus finally found what he had been searching for. In a small, sunlit room adorned with vibrant paintings and delicate porcelain figurines, he saw her for the first time. A young girl, no older than 10, with eyes that shone like fragments of a broken dream. In that fleeting moment, time itself seemed to stand still. The girl's gaze met his, and for an eternity, neither could speak. It was as if the universe had conspired to bring them together, a silent acknowledgement of the bond that fate had woven between them. The silence was finally broken by a soft, trembling voice. "Who are you?" the girl whispered, her tone a mix of curiosity and caution. Marcus's heart ached at the sound, and his throat tightened with emotion. "My name is Marcus," he replied, his voice barely audible. I believe I'm your father." The words hung in the air like fragile glass, each syllable laden with remorse and longing. The girl's eyes widened, and for a long, agonizing moment, she said nothing. The atmosphere was thick with the weight of unspoken truths and the painful realization of a past that could no longer be denied. Over the following days, As Marcus slowly endeavored to bridge the chasm that had separated him from the daughter he never knew he had, a cascade of emotions overwhelmed him. The young girl, whose name was Elise, was a quiet soul with a deep well of resilience hidden behind her youthful innocence. Despite the storm of revelations that had shattered the delicate equilibrium of her world, there was a certain grace in the way she carried herself, a grace born of hardship and the unyielding strength of a heart that had learned to endure. As Marcus and Elise tentatively navigated the uncertain terrain of their newfound relationship, the shadows of the past continued to loom large. There were moments of heart-wrenching silence, when the ghosts of betrayal and regret seemed to whisper in every corner of the room. Yet, amid the pain, there were also sparks of hope, a shared smile, a gentle touch, and the fragile promise of healing. Marcus felt a fierce determination to atone for his past misdeeds, to prove to Elise that love, even when born of mistakes, could be transformed into something pure and redeeming. But just as the promise of a new beginning glimmered on the horizon, the specter of mystery reasserted its presence. It became increasingly clear that Anna, Elise's mother and Marcus's lost love, had not left behind a mere diary and a series of cryptic notes. There were layers to her story that had been carefully concealed, a web of secrets and sacrifices that defied easy explanation. In hushed conversations with old friends and distant relatives, Marcus began to piece together fragments of a narrative that was as heartbreaking as it was inexplicable. Anna, it seemed, had been involved in something far more complex than anyone had ever imagined. A secret that involved powerful figures, dangerous liaisons, and a conspiracy that spanned decades. Late one night, as Marcus sat alone in the quiet of his modest apartment, Elise asleep in a corner and the soft hum of the city outside his window, he received a phone call that sent shivers down his spine. The voice on the other end was barely a whisper, yet it carried an unmistakable urgency. "Marcus," the voice said, trembling with emotion, "if you want to know the truth about Anna, about Elise, you must come to the old warehouse on Dockside. There are answers waiting there." The line went dead, leaving Marcus in a state of disquiet that bordered on terror. Who was calling him? And what secrets did that warehouse hold? The call ignited a storm of questions in Marcus's mind. Determined to uncover every last piece of the puzzle, he gathered his resolve and set out for Dockside, a desolate area where abandoned factories and crumbling warehouses stood as relics of a forgotten industrial era. The journey was fraught with uncertainty, and every mile he traversed felt like a descent into the heart of darkness. As he approached the looming structure of the warehouse, a sense of foreboding gripped him. The building, silhouetted against the cold light of the moon, exuded an aura of decay and menace, its broken windows like hollow eyes staring into the abyss. Inside, the warehouse was a labyrinth of shadows and echoes. Every step Marcus took seemed to awaken ghosts of the past, and the silence was punctuated only by the distant drip of water and the scuffle of unseen creatures. It was in the heart of this forsaken place that he encountered a figure cloaked in darkness, a person whose identity was hidden behind a veil of mystery. With cautious steps and a heart pounding like a drum, Marcus confronted the figure, who slowly emerged into the pale light. The person, a middle-aged man with eyes that held the weight of many sorrows, introduced himself simply as Gabriel. In a voice that was both gentle and grave, Gabriel began to unravel the tapestry of secrets that had long bound Anna's life. He spoke of a dangerous liaison, of a secret that had forced Anna into silence, and of a conspiracy that had threatened not only her life, but the lives of those she held dear. According to Gabriel, Anna had been entangled in a web of deceit that involved influential figures and clandestine organizations, a world where power and corruption reigned supreme, and where every move was fraught with peril. To protect Elise from the looming threat and the dangerous truths of her heritage, Anna had made the heart-wrenching decision to keep her daughter's existence hidden. In doing so, she had shielded her child from a fate that could have been far worse than any heartbreak. Gabriel's revelations painted a picture that was as intricate as it was devastating. Marcus learned that Anna had lived in constant fear for Elise's safety, making sacrifices that went far beyond the pain of lost love. The diary entries, the mysterious phone calls, and the encrypted messages were all part of a larger narrative, a narrative of survival, of sacrifice, and of a love that had been forced to hide in the shadows. As Gabriel's words sank in, Marcus felt a profound sorrow and a renewed determination. He realized that his journey was no longer just about his own redemption, but about honoring the memory of a woman who had given everything to protect her child, even if it meant keeping the truth hidden for so long. In the days that followed, Marcus and Gabriel forged an unlikely alliance, united by a common goal: to uncover the full extent of the conspiracy that had haunted Anna's life and to ensure that Elise would never be forced to bear the burden of secrets alone. Together, they delved into dusty archives, sifted through forgotten police reports, and tracked down elusive figures whose identities were as murky as the secrets they guarded. Each discovery was a painful reminder of the price Anna had paid for love and the lengths to which she had gone to protect the one she cherished most. Yet, amid the darkness, there were moments of unexpected light. Elise, though only a child, began to show signs of an inner resilience that belied her tender years. In quiet moments shared between whispered confidences and tender reassurances, she expressed a longing to understand the truth about her mother, a longing that resonated deeply with Marcus, who now saw in her the living embodiment of the love he had once betrayed. Their fragile bond grew stronger with each passing day, as Marcus endeavored to be the father he had never known he could be, a father who would stand by her side and help her navigate the treacherous waters of a legacy built on secrets and sacrifice. As the investigation drew closer to the heart of the conspiracy, the stakes grew ever higher. The very forces that had once silenced Anna now stirred, their dark tendrils reaching out to thwart any attempt to unearth the truth. Anonymous threats, ominous warnings, and sinister encounters became a part of Marcus's daily reality. There were nights when he lay awake, the sound of his own heartbeat echoing in the silence, wondering if the price of redemption would be too high to bear. Yet, driven by a fierce love for Elise and a desperate need to right the wrongs of the past, Marcus pressed on, determined to expose the secrets that had cast such a long shadow over their lives. In a climactic confrontation that seemed to materialize out of the very mists of fate, Marcus, Elise, and Gabriel found themselves face to face with the architects of the conspiracy, a shadowy cabal whose power and reach had defied comprehension. In a deserted warehouse at the edge of the city, under a sky heavy with the promise of a storm, the final pieces of the puzzle fell into place. The confrontation was as harrowing as it was inevitable, a collision of past and present, of guilt and redemption. Marcus's voice, trembling yet resolute, demanded answers for the sins that had fractured their lives. And in that moment, as thunder rumbled in the distance and rain began to lash against shattered windows, the true depth of Anna's sacrifice and the magnitude of the conspiracy were laid bare. The revelation was a searing beacon of truth, a truth that, despite its cruelty, carried within it the seeds of hope and the possibility of absolution. Marcus learned that Anna had, in her final days, orchestrated a plan to bring down the cabal from within, sacrificing her own safety to secure a future for Elise. The knowledge that his beloved Anna had been a warrior in her own right, a woman who had fought against insurmountable odds to protect the life she had birthed, filled Marcus with both grief and a newfound strength. In that dark, rain-soaked moment, he vowed to honor her memory by ensuring that Elise would never have to live in fear of the past. In the aftermath of that fateful night, as the storm subsided and a tentative calm settled over the city, Marcus and Elise began the slow, arduous process of healing. The path to redemption was neither smooth nor certain, but in the fragile light of a new dawn, there was the promise of forgiveness and the chance to rebuild what had been broken. Marcus took each day as it came, determined to be the father Elise deserved, a guiding presence who would help her understand that, despite the sins of the past, love and truth could still triumph. As time wore on and the wounds of betrayal gradually began to mend, Marcus found himself reflecting on the journey that had brought him to this moment. A journey marked by regret, sorrow, and the relentless pursuit of absolution. The story of his life had been rewritten by the revelation of a secret he had long buried, a secret that had reshaped his destiny and forced him to confront the man he once was. Yet in that confrontation, he discovered a strength he had never known, a resilience forged in the crucible of guilt and the transformative power of love. And so, dear listeners, as you sit in the quiet of your own moments and reflect on the nature of regret and redemption, remember this tale, a tale of a man who, despite his flaws and missteps, found the courage to face the truth and embrace the responsibility of a love he had once forsaken. In the echoes of Marcus's journey, in the gentle laughter of a child who dared to hope again, lies a timeless lesson that even the deepest wounds can heal, and that the light of love, however dimmed by the darkness of the past, can illuminate even the most treacherous of paths. Let this story serve as a reminder that life is a tapestry woven from both our triumphs and our mistakes, and that the threads of forgiveness and redemption are never too frayed to be mended. In the end, it is not the sins we commit that define us, but the choices we make in the face of our own imperfections. May the legacy of Anna's sacrifice, the resilience of Elisa's spirit, and the transformation of Marcus's heart inspire you to seek truth, to embrace love, and to understand that every life, no matter how scarred by the past, holds the promise of a new beginning. Thus, as the winds of time continue their eternal dance, and the pages of our lives turn with each passing day, let us hold fast to the belief that redemption is possible, that love can be reborn from the ashes of regret, and that every secret, no matter how deeply buried, will one day find its voice in the symphony of our shared humanity.